Thank you to all my members who are here so that we can get started, and we have a quorum. So I will officially call this meeting of the Public Health Committee to order, and I'm going to let Senator Burns go first since he has two meetings, and it's important to our members in the House that they get heard. And we're ready to go. You can take the... And that's for Senate Bill 107. Everybody have the copy? It's LC 540167.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you to the committee for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 107, and you are correct on the LC number. Quick background, and then I'll be brief with the bill. We had a tragic situation in my district back in June where a young boy named Israel Scott was taking a private swimming lesson. And regrettably, during that private swimming lesson, they lost his awareness. The instructor was not aware of where he was. He slipped into the deep end and tragically drowned. So this bill comes to me from constituents who have serious concerns about aquatic safety, where aquatic safety is being presented or being provided by private individuals for a fee. So what you have before you today is Senate Bill 107, and we refer to it as Izzy's Law. The young boy was Israel Scott. He was known as Izzy. I want to thank my good friends from the delegation. I appreciate Representative Howard, Representative Frazier, Representative Gladney, Representative Prince, all extremely supportive, and I'm so grateful. Representative Newton, all extremely supportive of recognizing the need for this legislation. I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for my good friend, Senator Harold Jones, who was a co-sponsor of this bill in the Senate. So what this bill does is it requires that any individual that offers swimming lessons have an aquatic safety plan, so that before you deliver a private swim lesson, you make sure that you have a safety plan in place to deal with emergencies. And so I'd like to ask you to look with me in Section 1. And you'll notice that it's to be known as Izzy's Law, to acknowledge the tragic situation and allow Izzy's legacy to live on and help other children not suffer a similar fate. But this is to protect the public health and safety of those who are engaged in private swim lessons and aquatic instruction by private individuals. In this case, this would be someone who, for a fee, provides swimming instruction. We don't want to discourage that. We want every child to learn to swim. But we want them to have a safety plan associated with it. So if you go to section lines 30 through 38, it deals with just definitions of aquatic safety plan and the department and the swim instructor. We have worked heavily with the Department of Public Health on this. They've had major input. We appreciate their input. They are supportive of this bill. But basically, the department would provide a template or a model aquatic safety plan that would provide certain things in the plan. If you'll notice in 52 through 55, there's a student to instructor ratio recommendation. I think one of the things that you understand if you're in water safety instruction, young swimmers, you have a much smaller number of students to instructor. So there has to be a student to instructor ratio. Advanced swimmers, you can have higher numbers. Unfortunately, in this particular instance, the number of students per instructor was too high, and that contributed perhaps to the tragedy. It requires a secondary supervision. So there's a primary instructor and a secondary supervision to oversee the instruction. It allows, in line 54, it allows parents or caregivers to be present and to participate in the lesson if they so choose. And then either the instructor or the assistant has to be certified in CPR. So what this would do is require a private swim instructor to think about aquatic safety before they deliver instruction. We want to implement this through the Department of Public Health and with the assistance of the Attorney General's office to communicate this. There is a a requirement that the instructor have a safety plan and that it be available and it can be presented to the student or the guardian or the parent, but also to law enforcement. If they fail to do that, there is nominal penalties in lines 98 through 102. What we're trying to do here is to heighten awareness of aquatic safety for private swim instruction, and we're trying to make sure that a tragic situation is not repeated. So with that, Madam Chair, I'm happy to accept questions.
Questions from the committee? If I got it. Representative Chokas. I'm in the hole.
Me? Okay. Thank you, Senator. I think this is a great bill. My question is, if a parent, well, I'm just going to use the example of my children.
Right.
We had a pool in the backyard, and at a very early age, we were worried about the safety of our children. And so we hired an instructor, but we were also present.
Perfect.
Okay, and my wife and I are both accomplished swimmers. What would we have to do if we wanted, and it was a one-on-one ratio with one instructor and one child and either myself or my wife? Would this affect us?
Not at all. The only thing it would affect you in is you should be able to request from the instructor their aquatic safety plan. So you would see that they have developed standards per the American Red Cross or the YMCA or the associations for drowning prevention. They would have a plan. When that qualified instructor comes to you, they have given consideration to safety of that student. And I would suggest one-on-one early instruction is ideal. Ideal. And the fact that a parent is there doubles your protection because you will not take your eyes off a child. In this particular case, there were too many students to one instructor. There was no secondary individual observing it, and the parents and guardians were not allowed to be present.
Not allowed to be present?
Yes, so regrettably, I understand that's the case. Now, this is not penal. We're not addressing the issue. We're trying to prevent future tragedy.
Gotcha.
It was a tragedy. And certainly, the law will address any concerns with this particular instance. What we're trying to do is get people to ensure that they have safety plans available before they offer private swim instructions.
Representative Anelowicz.
Yes, thank you. So, thank you for bringing this to our committee. Thank you for the time that you have put into this. I have two children. My first son, we did hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of lessons over a period of a couple of years at the Y and at the Smyrna, Smyrna Pool, other places.
Right.
My second child, I was like, I don't have this much time to spend at the Y anymore or the Smyrna Pool or anywhere else. So I heard about, from my daughter's preschool class, this guy who came to Atlanta every year from California, and he stayed for a month at a series of backyard pools, and they're like, he'll teach your kid to swim. I was like,
Right.
Done, take my money. And we did this. It was a semi-private lesson,
Right.
myself, another family, and our two daughters, and it was a warm pool, worth every penny, totally worked. How would he know about, how would these swim instructors like this who come in, because I know it's not unusual because the Mom Network always knows about the guy who's coming to teach the swim lessons,
Sure.
right? How do they know? How will they be notified? How will they know that they have to have this aquatic safety plan?
The Department of Public Health has agreed to communicate this on their websites and provide a model safety plan that instructor could adopt and modify as appropriate. The Attorney General's office has also agreed to promote and communicate this. I think the most effective communication is going to be parent to parent. So when you consider a private swimming lesson for your family, I would just like that parent to say, there needs to be a safety plan. Do you have a safety plan? Can you show me how you would handle this situation? So in the tragic situation that we suffered in June of this year, none of this was done. There was not two sets of eyes. There was not a parent. There was not a safety plan. There was not a barrier between the shallow area of the pool and the deeper area of the pool. And what regrettably happened is the instructor lost awareness, and this young boy slipped down a slope from the shallow function to to the deep function and was not discovered in a timely manner. And it was just a tragic situation. So from your perspective, I would hope that parents, when they choose to engage, and we want to encourage you to engage your children in swim instruction. You can use whatever method best suits your need. We work with the Metro YMCA, we work with the American Red Cross, we work with the U.S. Swim School Association. They're all supportive of this issue, and they've all partnered with it, and they see this as a complement to what they do, because they do not have the ability to serve all the need when it comes to providing swimming instruction across Georgia.
Thank you.
Representative Seaball.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Burns, thank you for bringing this bill. I do a lot with Georgia Safe Kids, and water
Good.
safety is a big component of that. So these swim instructors, they don't have to file this plan. They just have to pretty much have it in their back pocket and
That
have it
is
as part of their
correct. It's not a
program.
license. It's not a license. They do not have to file it with any entity other than you as a parent can request it, a guardian can request it. If the community becomes aware that swimming instruction is being provided, local law enforcement, the sheriff's department, or the police department can come and ask for the copy of the plan. They're supposed to have it on their person or in their vehicle. And then if they don't have it, they receive a citation. And the only reason to provide a citation is we don't want a bad actor moving from one county to another county and that new community not being aware. So what we're trying to do is promote aquatic safety. That's the bottom line.
Thank you. Madam Chair, at the appropriate time.
Okay, that's not it? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for working on this. I too am from your area and very familiar with
Absolutely.
the situation. Actually, this instructor had been doing this for a long time, well thought of in the community.
Absolutely.
And if anybody you thought would have had their ducks in a row, so to speak, it would have been her. But it's a tragic situation. And as I understand what you are doing is that we also don't want to do the opposite of what we're trying to do, and that being put so much onerous regulations on these private swim teachers that we actually end up having less kids that know how to swim, because a lot of kids do learn in these private lessons, and this particular individual had taught hundreds of kids throughout the years that probably many kids didn't drown because of her efforts. But it's a common sense approach to make sure there's an awareness and the beginning of what I would call proper supervision over this entity that exists out there and has for a long time in our society. And I just want to appreciate your efforts.
I appreciate your comments, and you are correct. The objective of this legislation is not to in any way decrease the availability of swim instruction in Georgia. We want every child to learn to swim from whatever source is appropriate. It's just in this particular case where we have private swim instruction, we want to heighten the awareness of aquatic safety.
Representative Chokas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to bring to the Senator's attention House Bill 402 came out of the Education Committee,
Yes.
and it dealt with schools requiring public schools and local school systems to annually provide water safety education information to parents and guardians of students under the age of 18. So, your bill and the education bill.
And I appreciate Representative Hilton's efforts in that area. We supported that. It passed out of the Senate Monday or Tuesday, without any adjustments. We had a little concern, but we were able to overcome that. But that bill is ready for governor's action. I hope this bill will follow suit. We have one more bill that's in education that we'll hear next week, which really allows schools, 9 through 12, grades 9 through 12, Senate Bill 50, will allow schools to teach lifeguarding and water safety as an elective credit. It just adds that to it. So what we've got here is a package of bills, one from the House, two from the Senate, all focused on increasing the safety of our state by ensuring that swimming is a safe and effective recreational sport. And everyone learns to swim effectively. I think if I ask for a show of hands, how many of you were lifeguards in your younger days? We all were. And you understand, we all were, many of us, I shouldn't say all, but at some point we went through that process. And you understand that we have a severe shortage of lifeguards, and the majority of lifeguards are in that age range of 16, 18 to 22. So we need more lifeguards, we need more people trained to teach swimming, more people trained to provide instruction, and this is just an avenue to enhance safety.
Yeah, Madam Chair, follow up, please. It's been quite a few years ago, but swimming was a required part of our physical education in the university system,
That's right.
and subsequently it's been done away with, and
It's
I would like to see it. I know I'd like to see it returned, and I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
I survived drown proofing at Georgia Tech
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago, and I was a lifeguard and a swim instructor at Rock Eagle in a much younger day. And I want you to know, I believe every student. And when I was president at Gordon State, we had an aquatic facility.
Mm-hmm.
We taught swimming in our aquatic facility. We opened our facility up. By the way, the education bill allows schools to partner with communities who have the facilities, but we had partnered with local communities. They would come in, provide swim instruction. We would support swimming teams and swimming competitions, because that's where you get your top quality swimmers who become ultimately your lifesavers.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hutchinson. And on the front row, your lights aren't working, so as we go forward, if you want to, we're going to have to get you to hold up your hand or turn around and say, I need to speak. Okay, Representative Hutchinson.
Thank you, Senator, for the bill. I just wanted to say, I am scuba certified.
Good.
Advanced
Good for you.
over
I'm
water.
not. I'd love to do that. Wow.
So I thought surely I could teach my 5-year-old how to swim. I almost drowned that kid.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah,
They
you're right.
don't listen to parents like they do teachers.
No.
So he learned at the Y, and he survived. He's 20. But I wanted to say maybe parents do need this, and not just the private instructors. But I just wanted to thank you for the bill, and also.
I suffered the same fate with my wife, who is when we were newly married, she did not have a comfort level in the water, and I thought I could instruct her and teach her to swim. That's not true.
No.
I ultimately hired someone else to provide that service for me, and she's adequate. Okay, she's adequate. She's still not as comfortable as I'd like for her to be, but you understand. Oh, yeah.
Representative,
Don't try to teach your children, folks. Don't try to teach your wife. I mean,
Representative Howard.
I thank Senator Burns for this bill as well. I serve a church in the community in Burke County where this incident happened.
yes.
Yeah, I serve in Burke County, a church in the community where this happened, and many of this, I have youth in my church that have this female has taught them how to swim for years.
Beautiful.
And many of them are adults right now. So it's an awesome bill that we need. My question is, the onus is on the instructor. This incident actually happened at a residential pool that they didn't own. A friend of hers, she was doing swim lessons at a friend's residence.
Correct.
This bill it only affects the instructor, not the owner of the pool.
Not the owner of the pool. And I would acknowledge that we considered going to the location and looking at insurance expectations and requirements and liability issues and those types of things. And they got a little bit too far into the challenge of balance. And what we wanted to do is promote this. And I want to thank Representative Howard for his service to the community. I want to thank the family. He knows the family. Right. He knows the Scott family. He knows how passionate they are. By the way, given time, they'd be here, and they'd be here in mass. All right. And my guess is, if they got the link, they're watching us as we go through this discussion today. But this is a phenomenal family who is totally committed to ensuring that the life of their son and their grandson is not in vain, but yet his legacy lives on through protecting others. And I appreciate that.
Representative Hilton, looks like you've got the last question or comment.
I just want to thank Chairman Chokas for the shout out on 402, and just let folks know Chairman Burns and I are having a pool party at my house.
Can we wait a day or two? It's a little cool out there today.
Honored to be the house sponsor and appreciate everything this body is doing in regards to aquatic safety this legislative session. So at the appropriate time, Madam Chair. I'll second.
All right, is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak to the bill?
Thank you.
Nope, seeing no one? Okay, all right, Representative Seabaugh, I think it was you.
Yeah, I'll pass the.
Okay, gonna make a motion to pass? And you
Second.
Second it, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from committee? Seeing none, everyone in favor of the passage of Senate Bill, wait a minute. My fault. Senator, I thought that the Y or somebody had added an
They-
amendment in this.
They withdrew the amendment to, is that correct? Ann, are you here?
Yes.
Would you come speak to the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Madam Chair. The Y fully supports this bill and appreciates all that the senator has done. And we believe that we can work our concerns out with the agency and are excited to work with them. So we're all good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
We
Okay.
wanted this bill to be in a position to move forward, and I'm grateful to the Y, the Metro YMCA, and other YMCAs across the state who've worked with us on this bill. They have some good recommendations and suggestions. We're going to work with them, but we'd like this bill to continue in its current state.
Okay. All right, everybody in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 107, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Okay. All right. Okay, then Senator Huffstetler. For Senate Bill 47, if everybody has that bill, LC 33934 OS. Senate Bill 47.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at that last bill, it reminded me, I know y'all are shocked about this, but in our 11 years, the chair and I disagreed on something many years ago. I think she got Governor Deal to veto it. We're down at Jekyll Island together, and I tried to get her down near the water, and she said, Huffstetler, I'm not going near the water with you. So I'm not sure what that, but she does a great job over here, and we appreciate it. This is probably the shortest bill I've ever done dealing with vaping, and the reason I'm doing this is at the request of the Department of Public Health. Megan Andrews couldn't be here today, but Stephen Seacrest is here if you need any more information. But there have been multiple subjects brought forth on this issue, and they always seem to get hung up. So we're trying to get one thing done, and that is to get it included in the Smoke-Free Act of 2005 that Georgia passed that would say it's also in those products that protects people from secondhand smokes. You know, some people would say cigarettes are worse because of the tar. Others would say vaping is worse because of the microparticles and the aerosol. This doesn't get into that. It just simply says, let's protect people from secondhand smoke by having it included in the Smoke-Free Act. It doesn't require new signage from businesses. Fairly simple bill, but I'll yield for any questions.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Representative Chokas.
Yes, ma'am. It's a great bill, Senator. Isn't it true that the health, young people tend to think that vaping is not harmful when actually putting that fluid in your lungs is very, very harmful. And I'm grateful for what you do. I'm not sure of what the specific dangers are, but I know of children that have been harmed by the vaping.
Right, we see it in the hospital often. I do anesthesia as Dr. Allen, and I know other healthcare providers are aware of the many dangers, and I didn't want to get into all of those, and this doesn't stop that. It just simply says secondhand smoke is not allowed. When my daughter was at Georgia and her best friend there is now in medical school, they would see people, fraternity guys smoking, vaping out there, and would just yell at them, and her friend especially would yell at them, and she said, we didn't get very many dates, but after yelling at everybody, but they were concerned at the college ages how rampant it had become, and the fact that people didn't know the dangers that I've certainly instructed her on.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, at the appropriate time.
Cindy Hutchinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This question is actually for Representative Benelowitz, who had to leave. But she wanted me to ask, based on this law with the amendment, is it true that people would still be able to smoke and vape in private and semi-private rooms in healthcare facilities, long-term care facilities, and employee break rooms?
The Smoke-Free Act has some exceptions to it, bars as well. I can't give you that whole list, but this doesn't change the exceptions that are in the Smoke-Free Act. It just puts this in it along with other tobacco products.
So if it's already in there, it's in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it does, if smoking is not permitted, like in restaurants and so forth, unless they have a special ventilation, or it would prevent them from vaping.
Right, anywhere you can't smoke, you couldn't vape as well. It would include in the Smoke-Free Act, but as the representative said, there are some exceptions in that law. This doesn't touch those.
Okay. Other questions from committee? Is anybody in the audience that wants to speak to the bill? Right, okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me have an opportunity to speak to you, Madam Chair, and the committee. I'm Helen Sloat with Nelson Mullins, and I'm here just to raise support from the Georgia Center for Oncology Research and Education for the bill. Thank you.
And I know that this has, okay, and somebody else, okay? Can you just bend the microphone for her?
Hi, I'm Polly McKinney, Advocacy Director of Voices for Georgia's Children, and I just am standing up to support as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Scott Maxwell with Georgia Public Health Association, we support the bill.
And
Bethany Sherr with Medical Association of Georgia, we also support the bill. Faye Fulton, Georgia Academy of Family Physicians, we triple support the bill.
Oh,
Not to be outdone, the Georgia chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics supports the bill.
wow. Okay, should I say this one last? Are we going to end it with, no, the other one's just a resolution. Being a nurse and being married to a physician and knowing what smoking does to you, anything we can do to move along to decrease vaping or make it less attractive to those who vape or easy to vape is a positive thing. All right. Representative Taylor. I think that who beat you? Representative Chokas beat you this time. Okay, Chokas, I'm ready for.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that Senate Bill 47, LC 339340S, receive the due pass designation by,
Okay, second. I've got a second. All right. Any further discussion? All right, Representative Al.
Isn't it true that we can disincentivize vaping by raising the vaping tax in this state?
I think the representative knows of what she speaks, according to other studies.
Sounds like to me if they just turned it over to this committee, it might get a fast, pass through. So anyway, I'm just maybe something for next year. You never can tell. All right, everyone in the favor of the passage of Senate Bill 47, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you for bringing this.
Thank you, and I think you'd agree to chair this, carry it for me.
I will, be glad to.
And I will end with saying that the American Cancer Society says that 1/3 of all cancers would be gone if all smoking ceased. Everybody thinks of lung cancer as bladder cancer, all kinds of things that it's the cause of, and so I hope we'll continue to look at this.
Well, I think the state budget would also see a significant decrease by millions of dollars because so many of the people that are on our Medicaid rolls have been smokers or former smokers who suffer from the cancers, the COPD, and all the other ailments that arise because of smoking and end up, unfortunately, being on our Medicaid system.
And about $700 million in Medicaid direct costs alone, the last numbers I got. And according to my daughter at the CDC, it's $3.18 billion statewide, direct only. Thank y'all.
Not to count the human cost, what it does to the human person. Thank you. Okay, everybody, I have the last one. It's HR 449 LC 339485. We have passed this one. If we not, you want to speak to this? And apparently we made it where it was joint and it mentioned the Senate and
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Scott Maxwell, and I'm representing Bristol Myers Squibb, and I have with me Curtis McDonald, who works for Bristol Myers Squibb.
Okay.
Basically, this is a very simple bill drawing awareness to the, and I'll get it where I say it right, but the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Awareness Day, drawing attention to that condition. And the first bill went through, was written in a way, instead of being a privileged resolution, it came through the committee, it was passed, it got hung up in rules. But Curtis, if you want to take a second just to kind of tell them a little bit about cardiomyopathy.
Yeah, thank you. As Scott said, my name is Curtis McDonald. I'm the Director of State Government Affairs for Bristol Myers Squibb, and I appreciate the opportunity to answer any questions or speak on behalf of this resolution. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which more commonly referred to as HCM because it's easier to say, is a very common cardiovascular disease. It's the thickening of the heart wall. It's also highly underdiagnosed. It's projected to have 700,000 Americans have cardiomyopathy, and about 85% of those are undiagnosed. So what we're trying to do is, working with the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association, is raise awareness for patients who potentially could be suffering from the disease. Often it's not found until much later. And these individuals have a 3 or 4 times greater risk of having a cardiovascular event. So we're trying to get people to, during screenings and testings, to be made aware that it's likely they could have this disease, so it could be treated earlier and preventing potential fatalities. I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions for our presenters? Okay, seeing none, is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak to the bill? All right, seeing none, I'm ready for the will of the committee. Okay, we have a due pass. I hear a second. Okay, we have a due pass and a second. Everybody in favor of the House Resolution 449 say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, no. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.